Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about this experiment and how it deals with learned helplessness. And this can relate to relationships as well, also how we interact with things. So it was a group of high school students, and they were given a list of 3 words, and they were to make anagrams out of it, kind of like lemon. They can turn into the word melon. They use the same letters, and it creates a new word. So one half of the class was given one list, and the other half of the class was giving a list of 3 different words, but the third word, they all had the same. Okay, so the first 2 were different. So one side of the classroom, they're getting it done. They're told to raise their hand, keep their hand up. And then the other half of the class, they're not getting it. And they're starting to get frustrated. They feel like, whoa, these people got it so quickly. Why am I not getting it? And so by the time that the third one came around, which was the same word, they didn't perform all that well because they started giving up. They already felt like they weren't good enough. They had a higher stress level, so their brain's not working exactly correctly. So this learned helplessness can also happen in relationships. So it's a psychological concept that was first described by psychologists Martin Seligman and Steve Mayer in the late 1960s. So it refers to a state of mind where the individual believes, often incorrectly, that they have no control over the outcome of a situation, even when they have the ability to change their circumstances. This perception of helplessness is learned through repeated experiences of failure or negative events, and it can have profound effects on a person's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And the students were able to say, yeah, I felt inferior, I felt not good enough, I felt stupid. And it wasn't because of their knowledge. Those words, those 2 words that they had, it was impossible for them to get an anagram. There was no word that they could have created out of those words. So they just felt helpless. So by the time the third one came around, it affected the outcome. So some key points that we need to understand in this learned helplessness, it typically develops when somebody experiences a series of uncontrollable or negative events. And these events may be related to a various aspect in somebody's life, such as work, relationships, or personal goals. One of the central components of learned helplessness is the individual's attribution style, which is how they explain the cause of their experiences. So people with learned helplessness tend to attribute negative events to internal, stable, and global factors, which means they believe the causes of their own failure internally are unlikely to change and affecting many areas of their life. So there are emotional consequences. People who have learned helplessness, they often experience negative emotions such as depression, anxiety, that sense of helplessness. And these emotions can start to become overwhelming and debilitating. They also have behavioral consequences. And with the learned helplessness, they can start to have avoidance behaviors. When people believe they have no control, they might stop trying to change their circumstances, and they may become passive in the face of these challenges. So they can have academic struggles. When a student repeatedly fails exams, they start to begin to believe at times that they are not capable of learning, or that they will never succeed academically. So a lot of times they just give up. This perception can lead to a lack of effort and a decline in academic performance, creating self-fulfilling prophecy. And with relationships too, there's a lot of sabotage that goes on, that we use this self-fulfilling prophecy, such as, you probably don't think I'm pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough. And it starts to manifest. So positive self-talk makes a huge difference. Believing in yourself. Someone in an abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship might come to believe over time that they deserve this mistreatment, or that they can't escape it, leading them to stay in the harmful relationship rather than seeking help or ending it. Or they go right back into the same pattern because they feel, this is what I'm used to, this is who I am, I can't get anybody better. And we have to believe in ourselves, build that self-esteem back up. And it can also lead to job dissatisfaction. So an employee who experiences ongoing mistreatment or frustration at work can start to develop this learned helplessness, thinking that they have no control over their work environment or their career advancement. And this leads to reduced motivation and productivity. So it can be addressed through therapeutic interventions such as cognitive behavioral therapy. This can help people change their negative thought patterns and attribution styles, encourages a sense of personal control and self-efficacy, which is essential to breaking the cycle of learned helplessness. And you know how they talk about like mind over matter, that can really make a huge difference. And the self-sabotage, a lot of us unknowingly or subconsciously can create some more havoc into our lives instead of creating a more fruitful life. So positive self-talk is extremely important even when we're frustrated. We also have to realize what we should or should not tolerate, that there are other options, and sometimes it takes effort. But when you start getting wrapped up in certain things, it leads to depression or anxiety or feeling overwhelmed. So it's hard to dig out of that hole. But instead of digging a deeper hole, let's not go deeper. And it does take time to heal or to recollect. But our lives are a lot of the decisions that we make in life. There's things that are out of our control, but how we handle what is out of our control leads us to different paths in our lives. And I'm here to help you if you're struggling with certain things. But the learned helplessness, those kids were just as smart as the other ones. And they felt helpless and they kind of subconsciously gave up. And it showed through their performance. So sometimes it feels overwhelming, but we have to take hold of what we can change, realize what we can't. But if there's something that we can change, or to realize that we're not helpless, or to ask for help. Sometimes we don't want to ask for help. Sometimes we need to go that direction. And that's why therapy can be helpful. I do one-on-ones or self-help or just positive self-talk, or being your own best friend where you help yourself along and dig out of this hole. So healing takes time, but learned helplessness, we can start to have learned helpfulness. And that's what I'm here for you. We can get through this, guys. Comment below some of the struggles you have. It always feels good having people that can relate to us. You're not alone.